All right, next we have Pisces rising and sun. For you guys, this Libra eclipse is happening in your 8th house with the south node there. And the sun is, of course, opposite. This is the full moon. So the sun is opposite the moon in the sign of Aries next to the north node in your 2nd house. So one of the things that I'm seeing for you guys is that, an eclipse in the 8th house with the south node, usually there's quite a bit that can come up here. The 8th house tends to bring up stuff from the past. It can bring up sometimes, themes around loss or fears or insecurities or intimacy. We can sometimes have to process things that have happened to us, things that we're changing and transforming through, things that are no longer working in our life that we are transcending, or we are transforming the energy around that into something much more useful, much more empowering. But there's something in your life that may relate to other people because this is a Libra eclipse. There's something in relationships or related to other people that you might be letting go of or that might be transforming in your life. And I think it might be a time in which you need a little bit more space and time alone to process some of what is happening because of this. I think that ultimately this eclipse impacts you on a little bit more of a personal level because the ruler of the eclipse, Venus, is in your 1st house along with Saturn. They are conjunct in your 1st house. So I feel like this Venus energy is going to further describe the eclipse. So whatever is happening, whatever you're processing, it's like you're transmuting or transforming some kind of energy around an event or around a past or around an emotion. And then it's going to alter almost in a way your own identity. And it doesn't have to be like a really significant change, but it's just a sense that like you are maybe understanding a deeper layer of yourself. Maybe you are understanding more of what you really value, or you are having to maybe confront or deal with things that are maybe heavier or serious, or more like responsibility gets put onto you, and you're having to bear the weight of something or level up in some way that maybe you are just like not as used to having to do this on your own. But there's a sense of like you kind of coming into more of yourself or understanding more of yourself because of the extenuating circumstances, because of the emotions that you're processing, because of the new things that you're having to take on or the adjustments that you're having to make in your life. It's kind of like, for example, if you had some kind of, relationship loss, like maybe a breakup or something, then you move out on your own and you're paying for things on your own and you're realizing what you're made of because you're having to be self-reliant and you're taking this time to, again, reflect and turn within and process things that have happened in the past. And you're understanding what this new version of yourself is without that person. And so that's an example of this. It doesn't have to necessarily involve people, although for many of you, I think it will. And I think whatever this is, it will have some kind of lasting effect or will bring up things from the past, because Saturn is which is again next to Venus, the ruler of the eclipse. Saturn is a planet of time. And so ultimately it does often bring up things that have already happened, or it will have this kind of chronic energy to it where the impacts or the decisions that we make are so serious, or the things that we're going through are so impactful that they, again, have an impact for many years, or that chronic nature. So it's like the long-term, the shifts that we make are quite long-term, or we're addressing something that has already happened, and kind of facing that. So I pulled the Cave card for you guys. And this is really kind of represents that 8th house energy of going within psychologically, even physically, maybe isolating yourself, having some time in sensory deprivation might suit you quite well, especially if you are in a phase of overthinking or worrying or needing to grieve or to process something. It's really the sense of like, let's take away the external world and all this stimulation and processing and kind of go within to our inner self and find the sacred center within. It's not a sense of hiding, but it's more so finding yourself. So giving yourself that spaciousness to connect with what is trying to be, taught to you or processed through this time. It's like you can't just keep moving on all cylinders. You kind of need a second to understand what's really going on. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to say that? Compassion and self-understanding is a gift from this. And it's definitely something that we are intentionally cultivating, intentionally moving towards that kind of silence, that stillness, that time alone. And I also think the ruler of the eclipse, Venus being in your first house, is another indicator of maybe I just need some time alone. Maybe I just need a second here. Venus is also making a sextile to Jupiter and Uranus in your third house. So I really feel like once you do take this time out to kind of process some of what's happening, and you emotionally process, but also in terms of like practical things, there might be like financial things that you need to manage, property, inheritance, how things are going to be divided between people. Like if you did have that breakup, like what's yours, what's theirs, how are you going to kind of separate things? Or there's just, I mean, the eighth house could also be maybe now I have to deal with my mortgage on my own, or there's a debt that I need to pay off, or just kind of like getting the practical stuff, especially when it comes to money, possessions, things that are shared versus not shared, that type of thing. So you guys might be in this phase of kind of having to deal emotionally with something and processing it, but then the practical, external things as well. And so I think that when you're making sure that you're doing all of that and taking this time out for that, I think that that's really going to change you as a person. And again, I already kind of addressed that. And as you start to change as a person, I feel like you're going to have maybe new ideas come to you, have really important conversations come to you that change kind of the course of your life or open you up to new avenues. I could see you maybe moving or having some kind of uptick in busyness maybe after this event happens because of the way that you change as a person as a result of facing this and processing this and dealing with this, head on. I feel like then it might open up some movement and travel and doors opening, things becoming maybe busier, more responsibilities or more decisions to make. Again, kind of stepping into like a new role, or maybe you are already were having that role, but then this was a part of that journey that you were always meant to go through. But there's something around like things becoming maybe more fast paced after taking this time out to process. And I say that because Venus and Saturn are sextiling Jupiter and Uranus in the third. So I'm really getting the sense of like ideas are flowing, conversations are being had, you're networking, you're traveling, you're moving, you're taking on new projects, you're busy running around town, taking care of things. There's a sense of like things, again, picking up pace. And that might have to deal with like some of the things that you practically you're having to address and deal with. But on the other hand, it might also indicate that because you're opening up to the side of yourself and like because you went through this event and changed as a person, now a new influx of energy is coming in that you can then ride that wave as a result of taking time out to, again, process some of this. The North Node and the Sun are in your second house. So this is a time where we are kind of a little bit more self-reliant. It is a Libra eclipse, so there is always this element of support and people in our lives and relationships being highlighted. So, that's still very relevant, but also with the North Node being by the Sun in Aries and the North Node being where we are kind of moving towards, there's still a sense of like, maybe I need to be more independent, self-sufficient. I need to stand on my own 2 feet. It's like the sense of, I almost feel like you're going through something that's like helping you grow up or change as a person because you're facing this. And that kind of makes you even more confident or even more capable or even more self-reliant than before. So there's something about that where I feel like you're growing as a person, and maybe even financially you will kind of grow as a person as well, especially if you do address any financial insecurities at the time of this eclipse, which can sometimes come up with the eighth house energy. Sometimes we have stuff with like taxes or debts or things that we either inherit or owe to the government. And so there's a little bit of this energy where financial matters can shift, and you might be able to kind of wrap it all up in a practical sense and focus on creating more financial abundance and stability. And again, I think you're having more opportunities come in, and those all kind of support that energy for you. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Pisces. I hope that that makes sense for you. I hope that resonates. If it does, or even if it doesn't, I would love to hear your story about how this eclipse is affecting you in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye.